Good day, everyone. Bună ziua. My name is Cristian Cârstoiu. I'm a partner with EY Romania, leading the analytics practice. I love this time slot of the day because typically people are satisfied after lunch and I don't get a lot of difficult questions. Feel free to ask them to the panel in about 45 minutes from now. We live times right now where the inefficiencies are, how can I say, extremely rare or extremely taxed by the customers. Right, so organizations that have inefficiencies within their processes or within their, let's say, customer interactions, they lose the customer trust, they lose money, and they often get out of business quite fast. So what happens is that organizations tend to be focusing more and more these days on optimizing their business operations, right? Focusing on what can go wrong, what goes wrong, where does it go wrong, and trying to fix it almost in real time. But in order to do this, what they need is more or less real-time process data, right? So capturing the process data almost in real time to be able to identify it and quickly fix it. So process mining is a good answer, right, to this challenge because it helps identify quite fast where the inefficiencies are within the process flow, and kind of reconstruct and visualize where these are, right? So that the business owners, the business process owners, or the IT for that matter, wherever the inefficiencies lie, are able to fix it, right? To kind of look after it and provide solutions. So process management techniques, process mining techniques, sorry, like how can I say, the Celonis software, for example, that we're going to find out today, right? Or BPM software like the IBM solutions from Carmen that, again, we're going to find out from today. They represent a way that the new business right now and the new IT finds out issues, right? They are able to identify bottlenecks within the process and identify whether those bottlenecks are coming from, let's say, resource crunch, right? We don't have the right resources, we don't have the right numbers, we don't have the right skills in place, or it's a data issue, right? We don't have enough data to take a decision within a particular time frame that we've anticipated. At the same time, we've got the automation, right? Automation, it's a highly used word that is being pushed top down by the management. And most of the, let's say, the arguments that are being used these days are around increased time to market, reduce cost, and more often than not, it's also about increasing the quality of the outputs. If we listen to some of you that were, for example, in the previous sessions from Craig, and what we've experienced also with some of our clients that had sometimes a hard landing, automation doesn't come easy. So it typically requires a much broader digital transformation because it typically comes with a set of technologies like machine learning, like OCR, optical character recognition, like chatbots that require a set of data and a set of knowledge which is not always very easy to be found within today's organizations. I was talking earlier with some of the some of you, right, that were in the room. And essentially, it's very easy to go to go through the past 10, 15 processes that an organization has, right, and automate them. But then it's an issue of where is the data, right? What kind of data do I need to analyze to further optimize, right, to further increase the automation? So we've got these two technologies, right? We've got the process mining, we've got the automation, we've got the BPM. So how do they marry together? Well, that's about what we're going to find out today. In our experience, what we found out is that automation typically looks at certain process steps, and those process steps are being optimized, right? Automated and optimized, But they're part of a much larger end-to-end process, which is ideally being designed, managed, and orchestrated by a BPM solution. Such solutions are typically available on the market, right, from one or multiple vendors. Each organization has a particular landscape, right, an IT landscape, and business preferences that allow them to either take one or the other route. I hope that today's presentations, right, from three of the main solution providers around these topics will provide you some valuable insights, right, and you take the let's say the optimal decision where possible. How are we going to proceed, right? We've got actually two sessions. One session is around the solutions presentation, and as I mentioned, we'll start with Carmen. Carmen leads the digital business automation for IBM since 2016. She's been in the market for over 17 years doing solutions and performing projects for customers across the entire Europe. Then we're going to have Anna from Celonis, and then we're going to have Vlad from SAP presenting their solutions. We're then going to have a very quick break and go in a panel discussion where we're going to analyze the insights, hopefully take some questions from the public, and then end up with a couple of considerations. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Carmen.
Oops. Thank you. Okay, that's my picture. Hey. Hey, so I'm Carmen, as Cristi mentioned. I'm leading the digital business automation in IBM, leading the European division, and I have a technical background for many years, as Cristi already shared. So I'm in the business process management area for some years now in the technical side. I will try to share some of my personal experience as well as what our customers are also doing and how they're applying technology in. I see now 14 minutes and 30. I thought I have 20 minutes, so let's get rock and roll. So, as I said, we have many experience. We have many years of experience in the automation area, and we identify 5 types of work styles that we've seen in the organization. If we look on the left side, we've seen that a lot of organizations have a lot of repetitive work still, manual work. We call that non-intelligent type of work by copying, paste between different systems, from files and systems, and so on. And they are looking to optimize that in order to reduce their costs, as well as shift their knowledge workers from not doing this kind of low intelligent type of work towards more expertise and type of activities. We also see a lot of administrative work and departmental work. These are often seen in processes which are running inside of a department, like expense tracking and approval, or compliance checking regulation and documents, or any other HR typical processes. If we look on the upper side and on the right side, we go towards more complex type of activities, and these are usually involving processes which are spawned across different departments, like I gave here some examples in banking, customer onboarding, on loan origination, or in insurance claims processing. So this type of processes usually goes towards front office and back office and legal and risk, so involving many actors and many type of decision that has to be happen. And usually our customers are looking to automate that as a main trigger, improving the customer experience. So the improvement of the overall business process has as a main drive to be able to reinvent themselves and to offer much richer experience to their clients. And recently also we see a lot of expert type of working where our customers are looking to infuse artificial intelligence and machine learning into taking more personalized experience and deliver personalized consultation or services to their clients. So if we look to all of these type of activities and business driver for automation, our vision is that we want to offer our customers a digital business automation platform that it's able to cover all of this type of work through 5 key capabilities that we identified, and those should be very well integrated in a seamless way. So we see here all of the 5 capabilities. I will not go deeper into each one of them as we are running out of time, but in general, we've seen customer, I have a clicker here. Okay. So we see customers which could start from repetitive highly work using robotic process automation to automate here and achieve quick wins. However, then they are looking to expand towards other components, applying business decision and machine learning, or intelligently capture the documents by using also artificial intelligence to capture and learn patterns to documents, and of course span across all of the across enterprise workflow, business process management or case management, which more often are working with documents and content management as well. So this is our vision in adopting such a platform for our customers. But however, customer can start from any of these components. We call this like an entry point. So we acknowledge that nobody will start immediately of automating the whole spectrum of work. So we looked to develop this kind of a platform that is able to decouple the components or also integrate with other components that customer might have in order to achieve this journey, let's say, towards digital transformation. We also look at the customer that acknowledge that the customer has workloads which are running on premise or on cloud or on different clouds. So that's why it's important that the digital business automation solution should run in a hybrid and multi-cloud environment. So this is the vision. And of course, we spoke about automation, combining different components which can add value to the customer. However, the other main trigger that we've seen in any of the situation with our customer is to get insight into automation. And Christy was mentioning about monitoring and understanding what's happening. So basically, we consider that getting insight into the automation through advanced analytics and artificial intelligence and machine learning is crucial for the business users to understand what's happening in real time, get insight into the data, being able to identify bottlenecks, areas for improvement, as well as understand how their employees are efficient or not, and where they should improve and better capacitate some of the business areas. So these are, let's say, the key capabilities, and I have prepared a short demo, because what better way is to understand how to combine all of this capability, if not by a short demo. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stop it and play it, so I will have to quickly talk over it. So please, hope you can follow me, as I can speak really, really fast, as you can see already. Okay, so let's have a look. I just imagine a very small process. We call that digital labor invoices, very easy process. We're capturing some information through a captured document, so basically scanning the documents. Then we imagine that we have some manual work that from the captured document, we have to copy information in a legacy system, let's say, and then this will be done by IBM Robotic Process Automation, which we have in partnership with Automation Anywhere, which I guess you saw a bit earlier. And then if, assuming that the robot is not able to automate fully the solution, we still have some manual intervention for exception and an additional approver for, let's say, like a 4i principle. So let's click and play. I hope it's playing. Yes, so quickly, just to demonstrate how to integrate all of these components to achieve added value, we are going to have a look into the capture. As I said, we capture the document, we scan it, we verify, we export data into a file, and that file is going to be picked by the robot, which is going to be a bit more intelligent because we apply some decision management and rules behind the robot to calculate also some tax and VAT, right? So it's not just a copy-paste robot, but he's also having a bit of intelligence. And then if the robot is not able to process, we have some manual intervention, so we still could have some human to finalize the process. So this is the capturing. Quickly, you see the documents. And then we are able to, the intelligent capture, to identify and capture the information from the document. We can also train the model to learn based on different tags and information, apply some artificial intelligence services that we have with Watson. And this is embedded into the solution, so we can train the system to learn and identify quickly structured and unstructured data. Imagine we could have a manual written document as well. Once the file, all the information are exported in the file, we can, the robot will basically be triggered by the next step into the process, which is orchestrated by the BPM workflow. So once a new task is created, the robot will start automatically, as we see it here. And it starts is basically copy-pasting information from the file that we have into an invoice application in this case, but it can be an SAP that we'll see here, or any other legacy system that, let's say, there is no other way to integrate with. So I mentioned that the robot is a bit smarter. It's not just a robot that is copy-pasting. So let's have a look a bit to see what the robot has behind. And it has this calculate discounted tax. So just to demonstrate the capabilities of having a decision management solution where the business user can quickly, in flight, change information according to the business needs. So for example, in this case, a business user decides that for books, the VAT has changed from 10 to 20, is going to quickly upload a new version, make the change, upload a new version, and basically next time the robot will run is going to pick up the new data and the new version of the rule. So in this case, he's going to calculate the new VAT, which is 20%. So very powerful tool for business user, and decouple the components, so allow much more flexibility for business user to change the information. So I mentioned that for one of the case, the robot was not able to process it, so that's a manual intervention that we can see, having a human role, someone that is basically in a help desk, let's say, he's receiving this kind of tasks in inbox, he's fixing the information, and then it goes on the last first step of the process with reviewing and having like the supervisor approval for all of the invoices and complete the process. So we've seen a full automated process with different components. However, we mentioned that this is not the whole benefit. So we are capturing and monitoring and tracking every step, and by having this, we get insight into the process. So we can see how many processes are running, how many are completed, who is implementing, how many processes are implemented by or processed by each of the users that we have, and so on. So many advanced analytics that we can apply here to get understanding of how the business is performing. So I hope I managed to give you a bit of short, easy demo to be understanding, but just to understand how the technology should work together in order to improve and add added value into automating the processes. But okay, this is something that we built. It's a little demo, very easy, not very complex process, but let's have a look. I don't have too much time, but I would like us to look at least to a couple of the customer references that we picked to see how real customers are using and choosing technologies in applying and solving their business challenges. So the first one that I'm going to show you is Barclays, and we are going to see how they improved their NPS score. So basically the main challenge was to improve their NPS score, which was negative, and they achieved 70 NPS score by automating processes in different parts of the business. And as well with this one, they also achieved 80% faster end-to-end process automation. So let's have a look and listen from the customer. What was the business driver that they had, and why they decided to apply, in this case, business process management to achieve their objectives? I think I need one more click.
My name's Mike Gamble. I work for Barclays Bank in the UK. My role within Barclays Bank is Managing Director of Operations. Typically within operations, you have a series of processes that when you put them together, you get the customer outcome. But we never stood back and looked at what that end-to-end customer journey looked like and how we get to the right outcome for the customer. What we do for each of those customer journeys is take a step back, we document them, understand them end-to-end, and identify opportunities where we can exploit automation, multi-channel applications, and really deliver a consistent service across the piece. And that's an area where IBM have been really key in helping us on that journey. Every time we build a component for a journey, we build it in a way we're almost like adding another book to the library. So if we build a component that closes an account, we can use that same component through our bereavement process, through our dormancy process, through our fraud closure process, our anti-money laundering process, and you end up then with a single way of closing a customer's account. Part of having everything managed within BPM allows us at critical points in the customer journey to do automated control. Controls automation is allowing us to do things we just couldn't do before on a very high volume and a high scale that gives us that confidence that everything's working fine. There's two tools that have really driven our agenda within Barclays. One is IBM BPM and the other is IBM BlueWorks Live. It's just a tool which you can document end-to-end processes or customer journeys. That's been really powerful for us. We've got lots of old systems. BPM allows us to layer across the top and have a consistent interface to our users. And more importantly, be in control of that end-to-end customer journey. Using IBM BPM has allowed us to look at different customer bases but deliver that same consistent customer journey and multi-channel experience.
And the next one that I pick, I would like us, although we are running out of time, I would really like us to look at this one because they had a similar approach, and I think also Mike made a good point, and you will see also in Travis Perkins, they are a very big retailer in UK. They also had a multi-channel, omni-channel strategy. They started to improve their web channel and the mobile channel in their digital transformation, but they realized that this is not enough. So only by focusing on the front end is not enough. Of course, the first step is really impactful and you have a very good experience, but if you don't assure that your processes behind are automated and optimized in order to achieve the same experience, then that customer experience can be improved, can be very short, right? It can stop after the first impression on the web, on the mobile. And also, Travis has chosen to apply their solution on cloud, and that's another interesting aspect that I would like us to share, because I think it's interesting to see why they choose to go and run the business process management on cloud. As well as he's mentioning about methodology, and I think Christy mentioned a bit earlier, which is also important. So make sure that you have the right methodology and align the business user UAT. It's another important aspect that you should focus when you have such a digital transformational project and adoption in the organization. Let's have a look on Travis and see how they achieve their targets.
Customer relationships are very important to Travis Perkins. The builders merchants market has been fairly traditional. The digital evolution, the smartphone, and the way that retail now works in the digital arena has changed that fairly substantially for us. So our customers now expect a multi-channel experience, and we've had to work very hard to get around 10,000 products onto our websites with images and with enough information that customers can use their mobile phone or the website to actually find and make a purchasing decision on that product. What it's exposed is problems with data validation on entry, the process that we use to govern our data. One of the challenges I have in my role is being able to decipher what is important for the business from a data element side Obviously, product information is important for our customers. Supplier information is important for us as a business, as is our customer information. I noticed a need for a tool to effectively allow us to govern the processes of data collection, data change, ensure that we have a correct approval steps as it goes through, but also not have a process that's too restrictive. IBPM is a very important tool for us to help build that process, to ensure the process is adhered to, and gather approval steps and additional information, additional processes, if you like, but only when they're essential, when they're required. As we move forward as a business, there's a need to be able to scale efficiently and dynamically. We recognise that cloud is a good way for us to be able to achieve that. We have a project underway called Path to Cloud, and that essentially is a project whereby we're trying to move as many of our key applications as possible into a cloud-based environment. For example, we've purchased IBPM on the cloud. The great thing about that is we don't have to worry too much about upgrades. That's all handled for us. The infrastructure side is dealt with, and we're able to spin up new environments quickly and easily and as required. That gives us, I think, much better scalability and performance options, and essentially gives us as a group and also our customers a better solution. We need to offer our customers a great experience through their mobile phone. So they can find the products that they want through a mobile app or through a mobile website, ensure that that product is in stock in the branch, so we give them stock information, and then being able to order and select whether they want that product delivered to site or whether they want to go to the store and pick it up. IT and business need to work together hand in hand. In the past, IT has been looked at as an order taker as opposed to an order shaper. What is changing for me, and certainly something that I'm promoting within my department, is that we work more closely with the business to shape the requirements, understand why the business want to do what they want to do, and hopefully help them achieve that in a more efficient and in a better way when it comes to processes.
So methodology and aligning business and IT is very important. Having an agile way and an interactive way, continuous discussion between the two is crucial to achieve a success in this kind of transformation. And I'm having another example, but we will not have time, so I think I'm going to stop here. The last one was a bank that decided to start with robotics process automation. So they identified a process where they were having highly repetitive work, manual work that we discussed a bit earlier, and they started there to achieve a quick win, and then they looked further to infuse artificial intelligence or decision management, and maybe even farther looking to end-to-end process automation. So that's how they started their journey to automation. So as I mentioned, as a summary, we can start in any of the three entry points depending when the customer has the highest priority and where we need to start immediately and automate and have some quick win improvements. And then you can start and plan the next steps towards this digital transformation automation. And data is important, as we've seen here. I showed that it's important to capture and monitor in real time and understand information. And then Anna will come here and we'll talk about more into the process mining and give you a bit more towards this type of solution. So I'm just going to quickly click for a thank you. I hope I managed in a short time to deliver at least a bit of high-level understanding of the business automation vision that we have and all of the aspects that you should consider. And with that, I welcome Anna on the stage.
That's one. Thank you, Carmen. So as Carmen already mentioned, we've got right now Anna Moritz. Anna Moritz is an account manager with Celonis. She's the go-to person for the EMEA clients. She has worked across multiple industries and channels to achieve sales excellence and operational excellence using process mining. Anna?
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for having me today, and thanks for being such a large audience. I am Anna Moritz. I work as an account manager for Celonis, so I really work with the clients on their problems and how Celonis and our intelligent business cloud with process mining can help you transform your business, really move towards a business transformation and digital transformation that is data-driven. So today I want to explain to you a little bit how our technology works, but also how it interrelates with the RPA subject. Okay. So if you just think about this quote by Bill Gates, automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify your efficiency. But if you apply this automation to an inefficient operation, it will just magnify the inefficiency. So we really want to help you to automate and to move forward those efficient operations. And how can you get to that efficiency? How can Celonis help you to get to that efficiency? Well, what we aim to do is to really turn your processes into what we call extraordinary experiences. So by that we mean both for your employees internally to have easier work, to really concentrate on the tasks that are value-adding rather than just time-consuming, but also extraordinary processes for your customers. So as we heard just before, really having front-end automation or front-end approval doesn't help if your back-end is not running accordingly, if your back-end isn't improved. So we really, thank you. We really want to have that operational excellence. And we have done this with several customers from several different industries, because I think knowing your process and then moving to the next step is not just something that concerns one particular industry or one particular size of company, but it is really relevant across different industries, across different sizes. But I think this was all quite abstract. So how does our solution actually work? Well, at the base of it, there's our key technology, which is the process mining technology. And what does this process mining technology do? Well, we take the data that's already in your systems to really reconstruct and show how your business processes are actually running. So we are no longer just looking at the model or some intuition and gut feeling of your employees, but we're really taking the base, so the data that's already there to show how processes are running. But this is just base, so this is just the element of discovering, really understanding the full picture, 100% transparency. But then we also move on to the next step of enhancing, so understanding root causes. Why are certain deviations happening? Is there something we can improve to actually have that eliminated? And also enhancing the process in terms of giving actions to your employees or to now the digital workforce, so bots, to actually act upon the insights that we find through process mining. And then, of course, in the long term, what you need to have at hand is somehow a monitoring capability. So especially for management, it's always relevant to see KPIs high level and to really understand why or how certain initiatives are improving the overall process. And I think what's important here to mention is also that, of course, RPA is one of the use cases where we can support, so really finding potential for bots, fine-tuning bots, and so on. But process mining is a technology that is really at the base of general process optimization, so be it working capital improvement, moving to a new system like S/4HANA migrations that are a hot topic at the moment, or simple KPIs and simple tasks like on-time delivery improvement. So this is the concept of how Celonis with the process mining technology at the base works. But let's relate it a bit more back to robotics, because I think a lot of you came here to really hear about the trends and hear about what is up and running going there. And I think there's different steps if you enter a robotics journey. You first of all have the discovery phase. So where do we actually want to automate? And with Celonis, you can really identify which processes are already ready for automation, because we can also have the overarching look of, okay, different system or a process across different systems. How does it interrelate? Where do we have the problematic areas? Where do we maybe need to streamline before we actually put a pot on a task? And I think also in this first phase, what a lot of times comes up with our customers is that they require a business case to actually implement the bot. So Celonis can help you in this business case calculation to really justify where you're putting a robot, and not just give that robot to someone who screams the loudest within your organization. And then I think there's the second phase, which also becomes very interesting actually when implementing the bot. So we can work with screen recorders, so where actually the very small tasks of an employee are really recorded. So we can identify a pattern across those different tasks being performed and really streamline the most frequent path, and really use the data of the desktop also to then have a very fine-tuned and optimized robot. As a third step, and I think this is also becoming more and more relevant as the RPA journeys are progressing, is how do we actually trigger robots, right? So this is what I mentioned before, is that we have developed the so-called action engine, which really uses the data from process mining to then give intelligent or give tasks to not just human employees, but also robots. So we move from just or helping humans to also giving tasks to robots. And also the last point, once we progress in the journey, the monitoring and scaling of bots becomes very important as well. Because nowadays, when you put the bot, it's typically in the process where also humans are involved. So monitoring that interaction between bot and human and seeing whether it actually leads to an improvement is something that you can also do with Celonis, with process mining. So this is how Celonis interrelates into the RPA journey on a theoretical base. But let's just look at one case study. So I took Belimo, a Swiss manufacturing company, because they really focused on one process they wanted to optimize. So it's their purchase-to-pay process that they are really interested in improving, because it's one of their key processes. And what they did is they really looked at where do they have the automation potential, and they identified that actually in one of the steps of the purchase-to-pay process, which is the purchase order item creation, they have a significant potential to improve. So they're now looking at getting that 143,000 euros by actually implementing a bot that does a very simple task. Because this for now has been performed by a human, but it's a repetitive action which can be very easily automized. And also really interlinking it with testing bots. So they use UiPath as their RPA vendor of choice, and they really looked at testing the bot and finding some improvement potential there. But I think it can even go a step, well, maybe back in time, just using certain elements that they have within their SAP system to really sending purchase orders automatically, because they have that function within SAP anyways, but they didn't use it for now. So they just activated a standard function. They identified that potential with Celonis, they just didn't realize before, and now they're yielding quite a return on that. And I think what's important to notice here is that we're only looking at a company with 1,600 employees. So it's not one of our large customers like Siemens that also have a lot of potential, but it's actually a smaller company that realizes value with Celonis and the automation aspect quite quickly. But I think Celonis is easiest understood when you actually see a demo. So I want to show you a little bit what Celonis does. And for that, I hide a little bit behind here, but you can still see me. So let me just switch to our Celonis demonstration. So here we're still looking at a normal, as we call it, business process. So here we're looking at the purchase to pay process. But as I also mentioned, you can also have screen recorder data to really look at the very detailed process. But just use your imagination now and follow my lead. So with Celonis, you always see the process that is actually happening. So nothing modeled, but actually how the process is performed in the system. And here we see a very, very common purchase to pay process. A purchase requisition, a purchase order item is created. You send the purchase order, you record the goods receipt, you record the invoice receipt, and you clear the invoice. But this is only one way out of 655 ways how this process is running. So you already get a feeling that the process is quite diverse. And now with Celonis, what you can do is really deep dive into variations of the process. So let me just, I added a few variants of the process, but what you can immediately see is that you have certain tasks in the process that are not value adding, like changes in price, so rework activity, where a human is performing an action that is not getting you any money probably, especially if the price goes up. Or actions like here, if we look at the fourth variant, where the process starts actually with the invoice being received, and only after that you have a purchase order created. So someone is purchasing past the purchasing department. Or someone is not ordering according to the catalog. So this is something that we with Celonis can highlight, and the full picture that you will get with or from the process is something that looks like this. So this doesn't get you very far if you just have this picture, but it probably tells you whether your process is streamlined enough yet to really have a bot on certain tasks, or whether you need to streamline more before moving on. But this is just the discovery phase, right? So let's look at one of the deep dive analysis. So here we're actually looking at an automation analysis. And when I talk about automation, I include any kind of automation. It can also be just something automatically happening through SAP or triggered in SAP or any other source system, or it can also be performed by a bot. And how we determine this is the user type that we find in the system. So again, it's something that we base on the data that's in your systems. And for example, what we would see here, and what is also one of our methodologies, how we recommend our customers to implement the bot, is to look at activities that are still very, well, manually performed and also happen quite frequently. So for example, here, the creation of the purchase order item, we actually see or get an indication that only 29% are for now automized. So looking at those 29% and maybe resharing the best practices from there, or taking that information to move on, is something that can actually bring you forward. Or even deep diving into, for example, the company code of where you're having problems. So actually, one of the company codes, IDES AG, is one where we have a lot of purchase order items happening, but the automation rate is only at 36%. So Celonis allows you to deep dive further into this and really understand why is this happening? Is it because of a certain vendor? Is it because of a certain material? So here we actually get, I would call this a task list of vendors that we need to talk to, like Umbrella Corporation, CEB Barcelona, SKF Americas, because they, and even the first one, Sota, because they are companies that we purchase a lot from, but every single time when we get something from, or when we purchase something from them, our process is not as automized as we want it to be. So this is the concept of really deep diving into certain issues, understanding patterns, really getting a feel of whether your process is streamlined enough. And one next step, which I really want to show because it's quite relevant, I think, is what we call the action engine. So with the action engine, you get intelligent, or you get tasks to your workforce or to your robots to really perform actions based on what our solution learns from the past. So for example, our bot 54, it doesn't have a great name like Apollo, but it has a number. So that bot actually gets the action of converting a free text purchase requisition to a catalog order, because it was detected that for this certain purchase order, no material number is specified. So with learning from the past, we can also trigger actions with bots. So it's taking all that information, all the data that you have already in your systems to really improve where you put the bots, how you use the bots, but also then trigger bots intelligently. And with that, because Time's Up has been standing there for 2 minutes at least, I do thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to taking your questions in the panel as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. Last but not least, it's Vlad Stănescu from SAP. Vlad is the Business Development Director for the Central and Eastern Europe for SAP Leonardo portfolio, which essentially comprises their most advanced solutions around blockchain, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. In his day-to-day life, he helps a number of companies from the oil and gas sector, retail and telco to define their digital transformation strategy and new business operating models. Vlad?
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vlad Stănescu. I'm from SAP, and as a colleague said, I'm a Business Development Director for Central and Eastern Europe for Leonardo and Analytics business. I would like to start by thanking EY for this wonderful conference and for inviting us to be part of it. Also, I would like to congratulate my panel colleagues, IBM, long-standing partner of SAP, and Celonis, very young but very successful company that we strongly collaborate with. And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about augmented analytics and how artificial intelligence and machine learning can augment traditional business intelligence solutions to help you, customers, companies of all sizes, have better insights into your data and make more confident decisions. Now, before I jump into the presentation, I'd like to get to know you. You are quite many, roughly 100, I suppose. So, would like to do a short quiz. Would like to know how many of you work in an IT department or IT-related business? Hands up. Okay. I would say 30 to 40%. How many of you work in a non-IT business area? The rest? 60%. Very good. How many of you use an XLS on a daily basis? Not everyone? Okay, that's a surprise. How many of you use a business intelligence tool on a daily basis, regardless of brand? Okay. And now, the last but not the least, how many of you are a data scientist? Wow, one person. Very good. Okay, I'm very happy because the presentation as such is not for data scientists, it's for business users or casual users, as we would say it. And it basically shows you how to use easy and simple solutions, augmented analytics solutions, to drive business insights and take better decisions. Okay, do I have? Not sure whether I know how to use it. Okay, good. So let me start with a mention. This is, I need to give 100% credit for this slide to Gartner. I haven't made any modification actually. And it basically shows the historical adoption of business intelligence tools. And if at the beginning we were speaking of code-based analytic platforms, like I will not mention their names, but you know it better, then roughly 10 years ago, we've seen the transition or transformation of those platforms to visual-based data and analytics platforms. And with this, we've seen the adoption at broad level in companies of business intelligence solutions. Now, what Gartner says is the next frontier in analytics is the so-called augmented analytics, which basically augments the visual-based data discovery platforms with artificial intelligence and machine learning. And by doing this, it allows you to do things in a much better way, non-biased way. It allows you to go from big data to smart data. And I'm going to tell you why is this important. In another research, Forrester says that roughly 90% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies say that big data will influence our businesses in the same manner as the internet did. And obviously, you need to adapt to this. So transitioning from big data to smart data is quite important. And obviously, we don't have that many data scientists in our companies to do that. So we will need to use this kind of new business intelligence tools, augmented analytics tools. Now, in terms of traditional business analytics tools, we speak about doing dashboards, reports, slice and dice type of scenarios, maybe some quick visualizations, and so on. However, when we want to improve that with machine learning and artificial intelligence, we speak about adopting the NLP, natural language processing, which will allow us to interact in an easier way with our BI tool. Also, it gives us many recommendations. It finds relationships between different sets of data. And it obviously gives me different predictions and, why not, prescriptions, meaning that it not just gives me the set of data, but it also gives me recommendations of decisions that I could take. Now, an augmented analytics tool should be conversational, meaning should allow you to speak in a natural language, like what are my sales for this year, and things like that. Automatic, it should find automatic relationship between different variables within my data set, and it should be predictive, as said. And by predictive, I mean classification, regression, time series. I know you all know these terms, right? We will do a quiz. Wait for that. Now, NLP. When I speak about NLP, I mean, the animation here is self-explanatory, right? You ask questions, and the computer is, or the BI tool gives you the answers. It's that easy. But more than that, it gives you more recommendations of data sets that you might ask. So it goes in a very smooth and easy manner to interact with such tool. We will also see a demo later today. Also, we speak about recommendation and insights into data. Most of the times we have static reports with no story behind. We need to do lots of analysis in order to find the story behind those data, or to find the root causes of a certain result. And this is what Smart Insights type of feature allows you to do. It gives you automated insights into your data. Again, we will see later today how this can happen. Now, in many cases, if you work with BI tools or with Excel files, you need to prepare in a very short period of time reports, and you need to start from scratch, right? But what if you could let the machine do it for yourself? You just go grab a cup of coffee, and when you're back to your desk, you have your entire job done. It seems like, if not visionary, maybe illusionary, but this is what the automatic machine learning engines do, and we are also going to see how this happens. Now, last but not least, when I do reports, I usually take my data, I prepare it, I cleanse it, I transform it, then I prepare the business model, and then I expose it to be visualized in a nice way, nice visualization. With predictive, or automatic predictive, I could prepare the data in a more agile way without taking care of each bits and bytes. I can do an automatic BI model, and I can expose it in a nice way as I did with traditional BI. Now, for this we use a set of automated algorithms and machine learning, which is based on the work of Vladimir Vapnik. I'm sure you all heard of him. He's a Russian professor who immigrated to US, and now it teaches about machine learning, especially related to data science. His work, statistical learning theory, it's somehow the baseline for the machine learning in the data analytics. And he now works closely with Facebook for improving their data science analytics. And our solution is based entirely on his work, so we need to give credit to Vladimir Vapnik. It basically chooses the right algorithm, data science algorithm, for your specific set of data. It actually crunches the data with different algorithms till it finds the most accurate result for you. And now let's see a short movie.
Okay, so what's our latest data say?
Our customer's a 21-year-old female, heavily into basketball.
Wait, data just changed. Now she's into disc sports.
No, she's not.
Since when?
Since now. She's into Tai Chi.
She found disc sports too stressful.
Hold on, let me ask you this. What's she gonna like 6 months from now? Who do we have on aerial karate?
Steve.
Steve.
And Alexis.
No, just Steve.
Just Steve.
Just Steve.
Live business powered by SAP. When you run live, you run simple.
Okay, so what's our latest?
Anyone into aerial karate? Raise your hand. Now, I want to do a short quiz. As I promised you before, we go into a bit deeper into the predictive. So the first quiz, you have the answer already. Who of you knows what classification means? I suppose all of you now. It is an algorithm that shows you whether a business issue corresponds to a binary event, yes or no. So if we take a very simple example, will this customer buy my new product, yes or no? Or what is the likelihood of a certain event to happen? Now, if we go deeper into classification use cases, we could consider the employee retention. And when we think about this, it's quite a difficult issue that companies have now. And this is because if a good employee leaves, it might cost the company up to 200% of his salary to recruit and train and integrate the new employee into the company. And through the classification, they could do the profile, the risk profile of that person to leave the company. And this could help us decide on what is the profile of employees to leave the company, how many employees are at risk per regions, per countries, and so on. And obviously, it will allow us to develop strategies for retention of the employees. But this is just an example. It can be the same example with your customers. What is the likelihood of a customer to go to the competition, and what are the strategies to make the customer stay loyal? Now, the second one is regression. Regression is basically an algorithm that predicts numerical values. And the easiest example is what should be the price of a product. And obviously, it takes into consideration different variables. It can be the transport charges, the duties, etc., etc. And in the end, I could have a predicted price of a product. Now, again, let's go to a more serious business problem. Let's take the account receivable collection that the financial department handles. And especially in Romania or in Central and Eastern Europe, we're used to customers not paying their invoices, and I want to know what is the risk of that, and what are the profiles of customers of not paying the invoices. What are the amounts that will be collected and when? And also, what are the amounts that are at risk of default? What are the customers at risk of getting into insolvency? The next one I wanted to show you, and I promise it's the last one. We're not here for predictive lesson. Anyway, it's time series predictive scenario. So basically, you forecast numerical values over a period of time. So for instance, we could analyze or predict what should be the amount of ice cream sold in a given period of time, summer of 2020, let's say. And for this, I take into consideration historical data, sales volumes, vacation months, weather data, and so on. And this gives me a time series case. If I take a more complex scenario, I could think of travel and expenses forecasting, which I can do per line of business, per countries, per regions, and so on, and what is the influence of the travel and expenses in my bottom line. Okay, enough with the theory. Let's go to demo. Let's go into action. So my colleague Daliana is kind enough to support me with this. What I'm going to present now is our SAP Analytics tool, which uses the augmented analytics features in order to help business users make better use of their data. So here, as you can see, I have web-based solution where I draw data, let's say, from an Excel file. Obviously, you can draw data from any kind of system, whether it's SAP or non-SAP. For the sake of the demo, I simply import the data. You saw there I have so-called lucky, I'm feeling lucky option, which basically does the preparation in an automatic way based on machine learning. Let's skip that. This will take 10 seconds, I suppose, but let's go to the data, which is already prepared. And here I see the measures, and I can also see the dimensions of the data. For the sake of the demo, we will take all the dimensions. You see there, country, customer, customer segment, customer status. It is actually a bike manufacturing company based in Canada with the sales offices worldwide. And here in the data, I would like to know more about the order value. And basically what I do, I slice and dice the data based on measures and dimensions. Now, for instance, I would like to see the data. Here I have it in a hierarchical structure. I would like to see it in a flat structure, especially the dates. So all the dates are actually going to be flat, and this will help me to show the data in a very nice graph. You see, the solution understands that it's data, and it puts a line type of graph. Let's select also customer segment, and you see immediately I can see 3 lines which I can compare. But let's have another look. Let's choose, for instance, order value by product. And this I want to include into a report that I want to build from scratch. Usually this is the traditional way of doing a report or dashboard. But let's try a more interactive way where I use a chatbot to ask the solution to give me insights. So let's go into search to insight functionality. and you see I have a chat bar where I can say, show me order value by product. As you will see, the system already gives me some insights. Product or product type, I will choose product, and immediately gives me the answer, which is a small report which I can attach to my bigger dashboard. Now, I can continue this, so I have show me order value by product for the last year, let's say. Or for last year for bike, what else that? C900 bike. You see Daliana wrote bike without the E at the end, but this doesn't influence because the NLP algorithm already recognizes a mistake, and it still gives me the result. And let's say for the last year, instead of saying for 2018, I use common language. And algorithm understands it's 2018, and it gives me the result, which of course I can attach to the report. It's as easy as that. But let's go back and see some more advanced scenarios. For instance, for the data that I have here, or the value per product, I don't see any insights into that. I would like to see more insights. Usually I would need to slice and dice the data and have a look into that. If I add the smart insights, what it will do, it will show me the average, which is useful, and it will give me kind of a summary of the visualization. It says order value for e-bike 148 is the top contributor, 32% above the average. So some good insight. It also gives me the insight this was driven specifically by the customer status prospect, and I can ask for more details for that. If I click view more, there will be a pop-up which will load some data and will give me additional visualizations that I would like to add to my report, which I can easily add. Now, as I was saying before, you need to prepare a report for the board, and this takes a lot of time. And in many cases, when we prepare the visualizations, we tend to forget or tend to leave aside the insights. And for this, we have the so-called functionality run discovery, which is an automated discovery model, which does the whole work for me, or at least starts the work for me, and then I can enhance it with my own work. Now, let's say I choose order value, and I want for the order value measure to get this report. It will take 30 seconds. We can grab the cup of coffee, or we could play another video. Let's play another video. It takes 30 seconds.
New bikes aren't selling, guys.
What are you going to do? How about we pump more into promotions?
Yeah, what else?
What if we hire more sales reps?
Yeah, what else?
What if we digitize the whole supply chain?
So people can customize their bike before they buy it.
That worked better than expected.
I'll dial it back.
Yeah, dial it back. Just a little.
Live business powered by SAP. When you run live, you run simple.
It should be ready. It's more than 30 seconds. But let's, for the sake of the demo, let's have a look on one which is already prepared. So this is what it should happen in 30 seconds. It prepares 4 tabs for me: overview, key influencers, unexpected values, and simulation. And basically, what I can see is the order value. I can see minimum and maximum. Let me check how this works. Do I have a pointer here? Which one? Green one. Okay, so order value, minimum, maximum. I can see the distribution of order value on the record frequency. I can also have a predicted value. You see how it's trending. The order value is trending over time, and what Daliana is showing here, it's the predicted value. Anyway, I can see it is decreasing, slightly decreasing, and I would like to understand what are the key influences for that. So I go to the key influencers tab, and here I see 7 influencers for the order value: units sold, product, sales agent, and so on. I choose a product, for instance, just click on it. I can also see a short summary on the right side. Taliana, just press on the product here, second one. Yeah, and I can ask, how does it influence? And I already have the visualization created. Yeah, I can compare the average order value for each of the products. And I can see the frequency by order value. For instance, I could see that product M550 bike, yeah, just selected. It is quite well sold, but the order value is rather small. So even though it is my most popular product, maybe I should diversify my business in order to drive bigger order sales values. And I could see, for instance, the e-bike, which drives obviously higher order values. Yeah, and maybe it's a good insight that I should focus on this one instead of the more traditional bikes. Now, let's go to unexpected values. It basically uses machine learning to show me outliers, and it basically shows me each data at row level, which are some unexpected data. So for instance, a salesperson that drives excellent sales in a given quarter, or a person or salesperson that drives rather bad results. Yeah, and for this, I could see it in this this type of graphic, and I could, for instance, check one of it. For instance, this is a salesperson on the bottom left, Raileanu. I could see the salesperson who drives bigger order values, and I could ask him to coach other persons in the team. Now let's do the simulation. This is a very nice visualization which allows me to play with data. It basically finds the relationship between different measures and dimensions, and I can, for instance, see what are the influencers to my order value and play with that. So for instance, let's say I play with the units sold. It's a typical what-if scenario, and if I play with that, I can see the chart is changing accordingly. Now, this is our demo. We welcome you to our booth to see a more in-depth demo about Analytics Cloud, and also you can take part in our contest where you can win one of the 5 books. It is about Kahneman book, Slow Thinking, Fast Thinking. So with that, thank you so much for this, and looking forward to see you at the booth.
Thank you so much. We're running against the time crunch. I'd like to invite the 3 speakers. Vlad, please don't leave. We're starting the panel right now. Anna, Carmen. I'd like to invite also Iain and also Konstantinos Somoglou. He's an associate partner from EY Greece, a seasoned banking executive with over 20 years around the process redesign, the breakthrough process redesign. We've got a hard stop at 3:30, 3:35. Some of our guest speakers they have a plane to catch. So what I'll do, I'll start with 3 questions to our esteemed guests, and then I'll open the floor for you. If you want to have questions, feel free to ask them. Thank you. So Konstantinos, I'll start with you because you're the only one that hasn't spoken yet.
Okay, thanks.
So, I mean, we've heard 4 solutions, right? We've heard very compelling stories around their capabilities and around credentials, right? Customer testimonials. From an implementation perspective, right? A bit of switching gears from the solutions to the actual people that do the groundwork. What do you think are the greatest challenges that the customers are facing in for example, implementing automation, or around predictive analytics, right? Finding the right data, or around identifying those processes which have the greatest potential to be optimized?
Yeah. Okay. So I think we touched upon this
quite wide area, which we call intelligent process automation. Now, within this area, there are different technologies that are interplaying. So we heard about business process management systems doing all the orchestration in large processes. Then we have some robotics process automation systems that are automating some specific parts of the process with or without intelligence. And then we have all the data analytics layer that is actually trying to understand all the operations of the actual process. So in the clients, I see we're running different types of projects. So one type of project is clients that are trying to just embark on the new technology, for example, implementing the first pilot RPA projects. Largest problem there is to identify the areas which are the good candidates for automation. So, and I think we saw that also in the statistics we saw before, that in a lot of clients, we do not have the scalability that we were originally expecting. So a lot of clients, 50% are falling less than 10% of 10 users, 10 robotic users for automation. So one critical area is how do I identify the areas that have this potential for automation, these specific tasks. Now, another very important issue there is with the data availability. So we have seen, for example, the Celonis presentation and all the data layer, the data mining layer, but this assumes that underneath that you have the data available. This also applies to the robotics capability. So if I don't have the data available in some digital form and it's in paper form, there's going to be much limitation in automating. That also applies to all the AI part. So for all these technologies to run, you need to have a very, very solid data layer that sits and on which all the technologies scale up and build. Now, if we talk about now the process discovery and the data analytics part, for my experience to date is that there are some clients that have implemented the business process management systems or some large, end-to-end SAP ERP systems. So all the data is being captured. So there, the data is available. We started now discussing about the actual data analytics software to start taking actions on the data. And this is something I think which is very, very new. There, of course, a tricky part is that the engine is unaware of external factors that could be influencing the decision. For example, you understand what is happening in the process, but there are some external factors. For example, there's a strike today outside of the system. So how do I integrate this information in terms of, for example, to reroute my processes to the right people based on the strike, etc. So this is another area that we need to concern. And with all this data availability and all this monitoring of the processes, the data privacy part starts to come very much into consideration, especially when we start talking about monitoring the employee productivity and all that part. So what information are we allowed to capture and how can we use this type of information?
Thank you. Iain, to you right now. We discussed today a lot around a lot of multiple technologies, right? So we discussed about advanced analytics, we discussed about RPA. Are the clients actually asking for those? So do you see, for example, in the RFPs that you respond to or in the discussions, right? Are they actually asking for this set of technologies, for this mashup of technologies, or they, their intent is more to automate, to kind of do certain things faster?
I usually find a lot of customers they've already chosen their shortlist, so they know what they want to automate. So they're not actually asking for the sort of broader range, or the RFPs are much more specific for the RPA of what we're seeing. But I do see a lot of customers find it very challenging because they don't come already with a short list or a long list of processes to automate. And I think the adoption of this sort of technology is best done when people like yourselves have gone into a customer, identified, done all the process discovery. You've got a lot of experience that you already bring to the table from other customers. So you can do the industry vertical heat maps, you can do the functional horizontal heat maps as well. And so you can go into a new customer and you can say, these are the low-hanging fruits, the areas to investigate first, to build that book of work. And the book of work, you're always going to be continuing building. But when you've sort of done that, and then you come to a vendor like ourselves with a top 10 short list that you want to go after first, and maybe a book of work of about 70 processes as a sort of beginning process, then that's the best customer to engage with, because they've you can see where the value is straight away. Other customers, they've got some key processes where there's a lot of value you can do with those processes, and you do one or two of those processes, and then you're starting to hunt for the other ones. But that's where I like sort of the process mining sort of type technologies and things as well. I think it's very valuable.
I think, Anna, from your perspective, is such an approach also that you see a similar approach from the customer. So basically, you go in there, you try to understand what kind of data exists, right? What are the typical processes? What's the actual difference between the documented, whether it is documentation, and the let's say the actual flow? Do they go one step further and from there standardize, optimize, automate?
So what we do see a lot with our customers is that they have already had some thoughts into, okay, how should my process actually look like? What are the issues that we all feel, but they're all lacking the data to actually really pinpoint down to certain issues. And that's where we see a strong link then, especially if they have had the mindset of, okay, we want to optimize our process to really have process mining as the base of taking decisions. And with your second part of the question, so do we then go into the optimization? Do we then go one step further? So for us there, it's very important to actually work with consulting partners, with EY, to really have the experience both that you have already had with the customer previously, but then also with the data at hand. And for example, with the action engine, we also have that new element of taking or improving smaller, very operational tasks. So I think there's the layer of the high-level strategic optimization, and then there's also very operational optimization that we see more and more.
Carmen, you mentioned also a very interesting workflow, right? I think it was at Barclays, whereby there were some manual tasks interlinked with let's say, solutions, right? Tasking the solutions, and then the software was being able to route, let's say, the robot or any other action to, let's say, to a new person or to an IT solution. So how easy is actually in practical life, right? How long does it take such an implementation, right? Because I assume, looking at one of the Celonis examples, right, with over 600 variations, discovering and then routing, right, finding all these options is a huge task.
Yeah, so we typically start with process discovery, as Iain mentioned already. So it's very important, the first phase of understanding what are the needs and which are the best areas to automate. So that's crucial in how we continue with the implementation. And it can start either with a robot, we have this partnership with Automation Anywhere, where we can help customer towards automating this side, but then they look even farther. So then often customer can start also with capturing and automating the capturing side only, right? Because that's where we identify the biggest need. And then we build on top of that, and we look to the end-to-end process. So an implementation means that to understand, first of all, what are the areas where you want to automate and improve, what are the business needs, and what are the benefits that you want to achieve by automation, and then you start to build on top of that and plan the actual project and implement with the technology that you want to start, or a couple of them, or depends. So we have customers which can start, as I said, with only one side, only one component, like an RPA, for example. Or we have customers which already started, they have automated some parts of their business, and now they want to expand and they want to achieve much higher benefits. So they start to add and they look to the end-to-end process, for example. So it varies depending on what are the customer priorities as objectives. And I think this is the first step that we have to do in understanding and discover the process and their business objectives and optimization needs.
And if you look in the Central and Eastern European part, which are the top 2-3 industries that are...
Three?
The top 3 industries.
Use cases, yeah.
Not
so,
industries.
Yeah, so in last 10 years, I think we started and we had a lot of work towards business process management originally, right? So we had a lot of work in the last years of having discussion with our customer, educating ourselves towards what business process management means. If at the beginning we started only with modeling, like Barclays started, right? Modeling the processes by understanding and having a common understanding of how the process looks like, then we discovered that, okay, we have to move further and identify the automation potential out of those processes. Recently, a lot of customers are looking to having, however, automating this kind of long process, if we look to the ones which are complex, can take some months, right? And then customers are looking also to achieve quicker, faster returns. And that's where they're starting with automation, the robotic process automation could be a better approach if the customer is looking to achieve a higher return in a very short time. And then plan, of course, the end-to-end process automation to achieve even more and get insights into the process, and then you can talk about process mining and so on, right? So I think business process management, it's in general a good topic, and we've seen this kind of use cases, and now robotic is really hot.
Thank you. Vlad, you mentioned very interesting use cases right around predictive analytics. And my question is, and I'm skipping on the garbage in, garbage out, so how good is the data that the system has? But I want to step over and ask, how ready are actually the organizations to have such a flexibility, right, in switching from a particular decision to another, or from switching from a particular let's say operation to another based on the input of data, right? Almost real time that you showed. Is this happening in practice? Do they need external help? Do they have the right skills, right, that enable such a flexibility, right, basically on the fly?
Yeah, so let me be straight from the beginning. Most of our customers have business intelligence solution. I don't think there is any customer in the room that doesn't have such BI tool. Now, the problem we see with our customer is adoption of these tools. In many cases, they have challenges like, how do I make insights out of this data that I have in my BI tools? Most of the cases, it's static data and visualizations, and they don't have any insights into the root of cause. Second, there are disparate systems, many islands of data, and the BI tools don't cover all of them, so obviously the data is not complete and it's not accurate. Third, we see the decisions that are being made based on those data are somehow biased. Yeah, they are in a way subjective, and because of this, the tool doesn't help that much. So, and all these things are being tackled by new BI solutions like Augmented Analytics, because they help you in a way with giving insights into your data and helping you take better decisions. Yeah, and what we see, and what Gartner also says, that adoption of BI tools will increase from 35% up to 50% in given companies because of these new tools that make it more easy to consume by the business users.
Thank you. I'd like to open the discussion also to the audience. Are there any questions you want to ask? Okay, so, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Carmen. I work in Tenaris Silcotub as a PMO. And my question is not necessarily directed to a specific member of the panel, but I would like to know if you can share some tips and tricks for an organization which is just starting to tap into the RPA potential. So for a newcomer at the table, do you have some advice, some tricks to avoid pitfalls, mistakes, common mistakes at the beginning of the road, just to try to avoid some of these trouble areas? Thanks.
Okay, I can raise 1 or 2 points there. So one of my experiences I have with a number of clients is that RPA is being pushed to the C-level as the holy grail and automatically we're going to automate everything, which is not always the case. So I think one of the key things you have to keep in mind there is that you need to set some realistic expectations. The next part, I think, is you need to start little by little. So you need to select an area, first area, to automate. But this is closely related to the first one. Don't try to find the most complicated area that is going to give you straight away the biggest efficiency gains. Just try to find an area that proves the technology initially, and then have a roadmap based on which you are going to scale. So for me, out of my experience, these are two very, very important areas to keep focus on.
Another question? We'll continue then in this case. Yeah, sure, absolutely, please do.
I was just going to add to that. I was talking to a customer at another event last week, and they said exactly that point. Is at the point when you're trying to establish your centre of excellence and build all this up, don't go after the most complicated processes. Pick something that's achievable, that you can learn through the experience, and then that will set you as a really good baseline for other stuff. And I'm seeing. RPA now is the sort of the catalyst for digital transformation, whereas I think yesteryear shared service centres and moving out to other sources of employment sort of were the catalyst of change in transition in sort of 10 years, 20 years ago. But RPA is now definitely the catalyst for change at this point, and so much more that we can do with the intelligent stuff as well. But don't overcomplicate things. And probably also, I think there's two schools of thought, but in general, without extending the program by 6 months or 12 months, lean your processes first, so don't automate garbage. Smarten up the process a bit, but at the same time, just be careful not to then push the whole program out by 12 months, 2 years, because you're trying to perfect everything in the first place.
Hi, this is Cindy, working in an oil and gas company. I have a specific question from a SAP perspective. With RPA, and my company is using SAP as well, how will it work out from an end-to-end process perspective? For example, we have process automation using RPA, and we are having, from an SAP perspective, in terms of licensing and in terms of how the respective RPA tools actually integrate with SAP, how do you see that going, if you will?
Question to me?
Yes.
SAP? It's a good one, because we have many clients that already use RPAs, and in some cases they breach the licensing of SAP. Especially when the robots are doing tasks in the name of a certain named user without that named user having a license. So it is a subject of discussion whether it breaches or not the licensing. However, SAP adapted in the recent years and built new licensing options, obviously more affordable, especially when you use this type of solutions. So in a specific case, I would recommend to speak to your account manager and get more specific advice.
Can I also add something to the first question, right, around somebody that starts right now experiencing with RPA and automation? So is there a need for change management to be somehow designed and performed, right? Because that's, as Craig mentioned as well, right? There's definitely a business case around investing in digital transformation with the aim in mind to reduce the workforce. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Whatever the message is, right? There is clearly a cost-cutting exercise as well that's being done. So do we need also to have some change management whereby we actually explain the benefits and try to find alternatives for those people that are being most affected?
Yes, definitely. So actually, change management is one of the criteria also where I've seen our customers are applying and are adopting business process automation in general, regardless if it's an RPA or end-to-end process automation. I think they are also looking for getting much higher flexibility and faster way of applying changes into their processes. So by optimizing them, but also having solutions that are able to easily change and come up with, let's say, a new version of a process to adapt to their business needs. So it is a very important aspect, and that the solution that you are choosing and whatever that is, it should give you the flexibility towards adapting to this. And I mentioned a bit earlier also about methodology. So yeah, all of this has to be aligned. So methodology towards an iterative approach, having ability to quickly apply changes and react and come up with new version of the process, because that's what's happening in the market today, right? So the business requirements are changing very, very quickly, and you need to be fast and adapt immediately.
I think my favorite approach to this is a couple of examples I've seen where the head of automation, usually reporting to the chief data officer or the chief financial officer, has the cardboard cutout robot next to them. They evangelize about it. I remember sitting down with someone I'd sold to and at a dinner, and he sort of showed me on his iPhone the company portal, and the top sort of 3 articles on the company portal were all about automation in the program that he was running. They involved the Workers' Council, got them bought into the whole program, and the Workers' Council got to see the value of it for the health of the company. So they were very transparent about it, and they brought everyone along with their journey. They had a little bit of fun with it as well, and I think that made it very much more successful.
So we're very fast approaching the end. One last question.
Thank you. My name is Hernan, and I'm a data scientist. I guess my question is mostly for Anna from Celonis. So from the data perspective, what would you say are the main challenges to implement process automation through process mining? Of course, we've talked about data availability, but what other challenges have you seen? Thank you.
So I think data, yes, it's a challenge, and the thing is that in order to do process mining and to actually see the process end to end, you have to have data in some kind of system. So if something is happening outside the system, this becomes a challenge, and we hear this asked very often. So how can we work with things that are happening outside the system? I think there, even if you look at the process end to end and you're missing out some of the topics because they happen outside the system, you will see an effect on, for example, throughput time. Or if you compare certain organizations, you can also, or internally compare organizations, you might also see a difference in terms of performance. But I think this is the topic that comes up the most. So what is happening if I don't have the data in the system? Otherwise, I think with Celonis, we have moved to a very intelligent way of getting data out of systems. So we do have standard connectors to a lot of the main systems, but we also work very well with legacy systems, or for example, with newer data elements like recordings, screen recordings, so we can also leverage that data. So I think we're quite advanced in using data that is there, but if it's not there, it becomes a challenge.
Can I add one point to that? Just to add one point. In a lot of cases, you might be talking about process mining for very large processes. So for example, for a procure-to-pay process. And this process could span across a number of systems. So it's not just extracting the data from the one system, it's extracting the data from 5, 6 systems. And what I have seen in certain projects is the challenge that you do not have the same key that can follow this process through across the systems. So how do I understand that this process in this system is this process on the next system, et cetera, et cetera. So it's how do you have the unique identifier that can identify the given process across the different systems.
So just adding on to that, if you have a relational aspect between the systems, so different IDs but a relational aspect, this is also possible. We see this a lot. I think there's no customer who has an end-to-end process in one system unless you're a full Oracle house or a full SAP house. But typically, even in a purchase to pay, you will have the first step, so the requisition happening in Coupa, in Ariba, in any kind of system, and the invoicing in a different system. So this happens quite a lot to us, and we can work with it.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have to cut it short here. Iain, Konstantinos, Anna, Carmen, and Vlad, thank you so much. Thank you as well. Some of them will be available throughout the remaining of the conference. Please enjoy the remaining. Thank you so much.